Every time I post a video or a picture online of the sim rig, I get some variation of the same question. It's either what size monitors am I using, what kind of monitors am I using, or how did I make it look so realistic? So today I'm going to go ahead and talk about all those things with you. And I'm just going to forewarn everybody, I am most definitely, absolutely probably going to piss off the FOV police with this one. All right, so when you load into Iracing after setting up triple screens, you're either going to be too far forward, you could end up with a stretched out image like I have, and we're going to talk about how to fix that in a second. First, let me explain the monitors to you. What you're looking at is three AOC C32 G2 monitors. They're a 32-inch monitor with 165 refresh rate and a 1500R curve, and they're 1080p. I choose to run 1080p because I like a high frame rate, and even with a fairly high-end PC that I'm running, it still doesn't maintain the frame rates that I want through an entire race. So I've chosen not to go to a 1440 or a 4K option, and instead I can adjust some things with the Radeon software to get this to look fairly realistic. And I'm actually happy with it because I feel like the frame rates are more important to me. Now you'll also notice that on the sides here I have bezel-free kits. We're going to have to adjust for those, and I'll get into that in a minute with the settings, but ultimately it does exactly what it sounds like. You'll notice between my left monitor and my middle monitor, there's no obvious bezel. And over here on the right, between these monitors, though you can't see it, there's no obvious bezel. Now the alignment's off because the FOV's off and everything else. We're going to bring all that in, and it should look a lot better as we work. Now, one of the things that I'm going to talk about a little bit more, because as I said, anybody who's used to using an FOV calculator is probably going to be in disagreement with me on this, but I've found that this is the best way to get the best, most realistic view I can. I do not have the same angle on my left monitor that I do on my right. I've actually, I would say, probably running about a 130 degree on the left monitor, and the right monitor is pretty angled out to not only keep the color consistent when it comes across the screen, because if you have like a different kind of or any kind of monitor that doesn't have a perfect viewing angle from the side, you're going to see color differences. So by twisting that out a little bit, it fixes the color, it gets a nice blend. It also doesn't throw off that, it doesn't create a weird dash curve the way it would if I had it at 130. So very intentional, but in order to do that, it takes a little bit of tweaking in the settings. So what I'm going to do is first remove this wheel here. Notice the lights came on now. I got a little bit of a menu up. You can probably see better. I'm going to go into the graphics settings, and under monitors, right now it's set at one flat screen. It's at 27.99 for the width and -4 for the bezel. Now, the width I've set it at was very intentional because in just tweaking numbers, that's not the exact width of the monitor. The exact width is slightly over 28, but offsetting it a little bit helped get the FOV right, in my opinion. And then obviously, because I have small bezels, and like I said, we're going to have to adjust for that because what the screen does is overlap the bezels. So there's essentially no bezel, and we have to tell it in some way that there's no bezel. With this particular setup, -4 was the accurate number to make it look right. For different bezel heights and sizes and stuff, you're going to get a different number. This is just something you'll have to do some tweaking with. Now, because I have curved monitors, I'm going to go to 3 curved monitors. And just to show you what'll happen, I'm not going to click the render scene using 3 projections. I am, however, when you're not doing the 3 projections, you need to adjust the FOV. So I'm going to drop that down to 120. And you'll see now we've pulled in quite a bit, and the dash actually kind of sits where you want it to on the main screen. It's a little bit high for my liking, but that part's not a big deal because we're not going to leave it here anyways. But what you'll notice is, despite using the calculator with curved monitors, what I actually get is a dash that wraps all the way around. It doesn't look right in the slightest bit. my side mirror stretched out. Nothing looks right here. So even if you have curved monitors, you can't rely solely on that setting. It is essential to use it. But first, let's go in and see what happens when we render 3 separate images. So now you'll notice my field of view got less, and I zoomed in more. And I've got a big mirror over there. And like I said, just using those settings does not help. It adds to it. You'll need to put in the 1500R so the monitors can be accounted for. But then you have to go over here to the flat screen. And I usually I set it to 162 for the angle between the screen, or to 62 for the angle between the screens. And that's just the number that I've found works the best. Depending on what angle you're actually running, you may have to change this, go up, go down. And then for field of view, we'll try going up to 165. And you'll notice now I don't have this curved dash thing going on that I did. And it looks a little bit better. It's not exactly where I like to my perfect number, but I kind of wanted to show you what you should start to see happen as you get into that flat screen adjustment. Now going back in again, I'm going to set this to 172 because that's the number I've found with my setup and the monitors being as far as they are away and everything. That setup works really nice. So you'll see now my dash seems to just glide across the screen. It looks pretty straight and even. I've got a passenger side. My roll bars are aligning nicely. Over here, my mirror's not all stretched out. I can actually use my mirror properly. Now, one other thing that I use to get the angle just right is I will adjust over here in the options the driver height and the horizon shift until I feel like everything kind of aligns with the wheels. So when we put the wheel back on now, let me go back into this, and we'll start the car. And you can see how nicely the screen on the dash aligns with the wheel. Now, a lot of people think I have a DDU or something up there. I don't really have any need for a DDU because that just aligns really nicely and it looks proper. I may still end up doing something with a DDU at some point, but it's not absolutely necessary. Now, I don't have it on, but this is typically, now I've messed everything up. This is typically used as like a heads-up display. I'll throw my racing information and stuff on this screen. So that all runs through SimHub. But ultimately, like once you get those settings dialed in and tweak it a little bit, you'll see that it really does start to align. Now, if I were to use an FOV calculator, which I have done, usually my door ends up more about right here on the screen. And that just, it doesn't look right. And there may be some calculations that are off, but at the same time, the FOV calculator also won't account for 2 different monitor angles. And you kind of just have to find all the sweet spots in there. So that's why I explain all this, because I get a lot of questions around this. And a lot of people think that it's like automatic, you should just use the calculator. And I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do, because it's technically not. But at the same time, it's not what I've found to be the most effective, and all I'm doing is sharing with you guys my experience. Now, there is still a little bit of deviation in color depending on the angle you get. I don't know if you guys could see it before, but now that I've turned a little, you can see the color. I can see the color is a lot better. But overall, it's peripherals, right? So not going to necessarily notice as much in the peripherals if the color's just a hair off, because I'm mostly using those just to glance at. My eyes are typically straight in front of me. Before we go any further, last week I dropped a new video showcasing some new merch. I'm going to give some of it away. Make sure you check out the video above to learn how to enter for that. Now, this guide might not be helpful to everybody, but as you can see, for me, doing those adjustments got the monitors to look really good. It almost feels like I'm in a real car from this point of view that you're seeing. And that's just with the 1500R curve and everything. I feel like those are the steps I had to take. Now, if you've got flat screens or better viewing angles, things like that, you may be able to get your monitors aligned to where a calculator is perfect for you. It's all relative to the tech you're using. And I think for many of us, we're challenged with having these different types of screens and stuff, and that's why I get so many questions around this. So hopefully this video is helpful to you guys. If any videos I share with you have been helpful, or you guys want to learn more about my setups and stuff like that as I dig deeper into the different tech and stuff I'm using, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Thankful to all of you who have subscribed already. The channel is growing pretty rapidly, and I greatly appreciate you guys' support. I'll see you guys on the next video.